If you haven't noticed, today is the feast day on the church calendar we call Epiphany. Actually, technically it was yesterday, but I cheated a bit and moved it to today. So if you still have your trees up, don't worry, it's fine. When I worked at First English Lutheran Church, the big production every year was the live nativity play, which happened every Christmas. As you probably know, a feature of every Christmas play that's ever been done in any church is the wise men, right? And at the live nativity scene at First English, it featured live animals, including, most years, a live camel. The camel's name was Moses. The camel would be tugged in by the wise men. It was always some brave wise man's job to do this. But this particular year, we learned from the animal farm that we rented these animals from that Moses the camel had gone into retirement. And no longer would we have Moses the camel. But the owner of the farm said, "I do have a deal for you. I'll give you half off on an alpaca instead." Pastor Bob was an enterprising individual, and he said, "Well, why not? Why can't the wise men have an alpaca?" Okay. This same year, the U.S. District Attorney for Southern Ohio had heard about all the good work First English was doing and wanted to be a part of this play because it was a true community event. Many people from the community showed up. And so he said he called us and asked to be a part of it, which was a fine request. So, of course, we made him a wise man. And we gave him responsibility of the alpaca. This seemed like a good idea, and I do mean seemed like a good idea. But what we didn't know was a little fact that would have been helpful to have known from the beginning, that when alpaca are raised with sheep, like this one was, alpaca get very protective of sheep, and in fact want to be around them always. You might begin to see the problem in any good Christmas production, right? The shepherds walk in at a different point than the wise men do. So the Christmas play production culminated this year at First English with the U.S. District Attorney trying to drag an alpaca up the center aisle of First English Lutheran Church, the alpaca resisting so badly until the point when the U.S. District Attorney went, "Let's go to Bethlehem!" And then the alpaca tugged him and dragged him along the aisle back toward the sheep at the back of the apartment. The entire time he was being dragged on the floor, the U.S. District Attorney was shouting, "It's that way!" Honest to God, I swear every piece of that story is true. I tell it to you not just because it's my best and only wise man story, but also to say what's interesting about it is everybody in the story, even the alpaca, was kind of looking for something, right? The U.S. District Attorney was looking to be a part of a community event. The alpaca was looking to be close to the sheep. Pastor Bob was looking for any animal that would make this production in an inner city church stand out, and an alpaca fit the bill. Everybody was kind of looking for something. We come to our story for Epiphany, and it's always the same reading. It is the story of the wise men. In the gospel, actually, Jesus has already been born, and it says, "Wise men came from the east," or in the Song's version, "We three kings." The wise men, or kings, are officially the word that is used there are magi, which is a word for Persian astrologers. Their job is to look at the heavens and to look for the future and to look for destiny. That is their job. Their role is to then tell the king and tell important officials in the government what the heavens say about destiny. And what they have seen is a new star that has risen that signals Jesus' birth, the King of Kings. What's interesting about this is that it's not so different from our world, actually. People are still looking for something. People are looking for destiny. You can tell that in a variety of ways. I was reading an article in the Washington Post about how interest in astrology has had a huge surge lately. There are apps on their phone that can read your star chart. The psychic and astrology industry is a $2 billion industry, evidently. Kind of like the wise men, kind of like Pastor Bob, and even kind of like the alpaca, we're all kind of looking for something, right? We're looking for a destiny. So the wise men show up, and what's funny about it is that they look in all the wrong places. They're wise men, but boy, do they get nothing right the whole way around. So the star signals Jesus' birth, but they're looking for him in the wrong place. Where do they go? Jerusalem. Well, it's not where Jesus is born. And who do they go to ask about it? Well, they go to King Herod. Wrong person, really wrong person to go and ask. The Bible artfully puts it this way: when Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. I'm going to give you a little tip if you ever have to talk to a king. Don't ever tell a king a new one's on the way. They tend not to like that. Herod's looking for something too. Herod's looking to stay in power as long as he possibly can, by any means that he possibly can, using whatever violence and power he has at his disposal. Herod is looking for something too. The wise men do eventually get an answer. Herod convenes what must have been the most stressful Bible study in human history, as he convenes all the scholars of the law to say, where will the Messiah be born? They give him the answer: Bethlehem, that tiny little village, the tiny little sleepy town. Bethlehem just means house of bread. There was probably a granary somewhere in town, and that was it. That's all it is. Not the big city, not the palace, just little Bethlehem. And the most wonderful part of the story is this: that the star stops over Bethlehem. That these wise men, these astrologers who have been searching the stars all their life for destiny, and have been looking at the stars for what's next, and have been looking for something in the skies all their lives, they can finally stop. Because the one thing they've been looking for has finally been found, and that is Jesus. That is the true good news. Because kind of like Pastor Bob, and kind of like the alpaca, and kind of like the wise men, and kind of like Herod even, we're all looking for something in our lives. I think that's the answer to why so many people are interested in astrology and why so many people seem to be angry all the time. They're both related in that people are desperately looking for something. We're looking for destiny. We're looking for greater meaning. We are looking for something. We're looking for a kind of grace in our lives that is more than just kind of reluctant forgiveness. And we're looking for a love in our lives that is more than can be bought. We're looking for something. The good news of the gospel today, the good news of the story of Jesus Christ, the good news in this reading is that the star does, in fact, stop. And the wise men can stop searching. You too can stop searching. You may be looking for something. You no longer need to look. You no longer need to look at the stars. You no longer need to search in esoteric knowledge or searching for meaning in greater power or greater violence. You no longer need to search for destiny and meaning in your political party or in your history. We can find that in Jesus Christ. And the best news is that we are led directly to this Jesus every Sunday. The star has stopped. You don't have to look any longer. So my only question for you is, what are you searching for? Whether you're the wise men who are searching the stars for a new king, or you're Herod who's searching for a threat, or whether you're the alpaca just looking to do your job and protect the sheep. What are you searching for? The good news is I'm here to tell you, you don't have to search any longer. The star has stopped and Jesus is here. He is with you. And that is very good news indeed. Amen.